If you're a die-cast truck nut like me, I'm sure you're going to like this video. I have quite a collection, the majority of which are 1/64th scale die-cast semi-trucks, much like what you see on the screen right now. Of course, what you're looking at is a first gear R model Mack with the Pacific Intermountain Express pup trailer. I acquired this truck, maybe 3-4 years ago. And when I add a truck to my collection, I, of course, take photos of it, put it on my computer. And some of these trucks I'll look at and come up with a way to modify and make them something different. Now, what I did years ago is I did a lot of modifications with Ertl trucks. And one of the trucks that I modified or customized was the R model Mack. I actually modified it into a Model U Mack. And I did a few of them, sold most of them on eBay. And I kept one, which I really like. It's a Roadway R model Mack that I actually customize into a Model U Mack. And that's what I'm going to do with this one you see on the screen. I'm going to show you how, what I did, kind of explain a little bit how I did it. And maybe it's something that you would like to have to your collection, because you look around and you're not going to find many, if hardly any, U model Macks, especially in 1/64th scale. The bulk of my collection is 1/64th scale die-cast semi-trucks. So what I'm going to show you is how to take this cab. We'll put this trailer off to the side. How to take this cab and what needs to be done to change it into the Model U Mack. So we're going to go from an R model Mack to a Model U Mack. And of course, the first thing that we do on this truck, what I did, is if you take this transmission casing off, it's plastic, you pop it off and you'll see that there's a screw under here that you take that screw off and the cab will come off. Of course, the mirrors and the chrome come off with it. The air filter comes off with it. The smokestack does not come off with it, so you'll have to undo the smokestack here. And then there's a place on the bottom where you will be able to put a little screwdriver or tweezers in there and take that smokestack, the exhaust stack, out of there. I don't take the hood off. I think it's easier just to modify this truck leaving the hood on. So we leave the hood on, take the cab off, and we'll focus on what needs to be done with the hood to modify it into a Model U Mack hood. So what I do is I take photos off Google. I'll do a Google search for whatever particular truck that I'm anticipating making or modifying or customizing, whatever you want to use. So I have one that I've already done that I'll just set beside here and we'll compare. So now looking at this, you can see the differences in the body line of these hoods. So I've taken this R model Mack and looking at the photos, looking to see what the difference is, where the difference is in these two hoods. If you close this, you'll see that on a Model U Mack, the differences between this cab and this cab, or the hood, is quite a bit. There's quite a bit that needs to be taken off. So what I do is I'll take a piece of tape and I run a piece of tape where that body line is, and then I'll take a hacksaw. I like using hand tools. I feel that you have more control over hand tools than what you do power tools. And so I'll take a hacksaw, a handheld hacksaw, then I'll cut along that tape, leaving a little bit of stock because I'll come back and file that. And then on this side of the tractor, you'll see that I'll cut down to the fender, and then I'll come in with a Dremel with a metal cutting bit, and I'll Dremel this around to take off the stock that I don't want there. And that's what you do for the hood. And of course, once you take the tape off, you do your filing to file this smooth, sand it a little bit to get any tool marks out, and then I just use a Tester's red paint to come back and touch that up, and you can't even really see the difference. It looks real nice. Now when you take the cab, and we take a look at the cab, you'll notice there's quite a difference between these two trucks and the firewall. There's a lot of stock here, a lot of metal that has to come out for this hood to fit properly against the cab. So again, I take a handheld hacksaw and I make my cut through here almost to this window line. You can see the window line there. And then I cut back and pop that extra metal out of there. Now that leaves you a little bit of rough metal in this area. Plus you still have a bit of the firewall in this area. Let me hold that up there for you. You can see a little metal in this area, which is going to have to come out too, so that the motor fits back into the firewall. What you'll end up with, once you file this down, sand it a little bit, you might have to, depending on how much stock you take out, maybe a little bit of body filler. I try not to use as a body filler if I don't have to. But then I took my Dremel again and I Dremeled all this metal out of here. That way, as you can see, that motor fits up underneath this part of the firewall. And you want to leave this, you need this, so that when your hood is sitting down, it has something to rest against. Now, when you go to mount this cab back onto the chassis, what you want to be careful of is making sure that you match this up along here. And remember, you're going to have to file a little bit of an angle on the cab. And then as you get all the sanding done around your cab, you're ready to mount it back onto the chassis. I use the two-part epoxy because it gives me at least 5 minutes open time to be able to play around with this cab, making sure that I have it level with the hood. And also making sure that I have it flush along this side here. And again, it takes a little over 5 minutes to make sure that the curing is enough that the cab won't move on you. But again, I usually play around with it for 10 minutes. I'll hold it for a while. Somehow make sure that it's secure where I want it set. That once the epoxy is set enough that I can leave it go overnight and finish curing, because it usually takes 24 hours for the epoxy to completely cure. So anyway, once I got all that done, you can see the finished product here of the model UMAC truck. Make a comparison. They both turn out, they're both very nice trucks. Now, of course, when I did this, I only had the one. And this one wasn't here yet. This model UMAC was mated up with the Pi pup trailer, and you can see that in itself is a cool looking little truck. That's nice. It's a nice little model. I was pretty happy at this point. So what I do is I take my photos and I put them in my computer, and I'm looking at this truck thinking, well, that's a nice job. I'm happy with that. But then all of a sudden I'm like, well, it could use another pup trailer. And of course, that's where the RMACK comes into play, because I order an RMACK and I get the other trailer and I make myself a trailer dolly out of some of the spare parts that I keep around. and I ended up with the R model Mack, or I'm sorry, the Model U Mack, made it up with pup trailers. And now that's sweet looking, isn't it? I really like that. That turned out nice. So once again, I take my photos, put them on my computer. I have the R model Mack truck. I'm thinking, okay, now I need a trailer for it. What am I going to do for a trailer? So I look on eBay, and I happen to come across a good deal on a tank trailer. It was actually off of a rubber duck tractor trailer convoy, but I got a good deal on it, so I went ahead. I thought, well, this is going to be cool because I'll just leave it as a convoy, but I'll add pie stickers to it. And so I mated that up with the R model Mack. And I thought, well, that's a nice little truck. Well, then what I did is I thought, well, that would even look cooler if I turned it into an R model Mack. And so I did. I turned that into an R model Mack. So now what I have is I have two of these trucks, of which this cab is also mated up with this trailer. But what I did is I thought, well, you know what? Now that I've got two U model Mack tandems, why don't I just take the one that goes with the pup trailers, take that back axle off. If I take that back axle off, I could move the fifth wheel forward. I could cut this off of what's left, move it forward, and then I would have a single axle Model U Mack. And so I did that. And that is really a sweet little truck. And I mated that up to the pup trailers. And get that into the fifth wheel there. There. So this is what I ended up with. Now this looking at this, isn't that sweet? That I think is a classic, because I did look up on the internet, and Pacific Intermountain Express did use some Mack trucks. Of course, most of their single axles with a cab over type, but this is nice, very nice. I'm really happy with that, the way that truck turned out, and I was also happy with the way this turned out. Even though, you know, the decals are a little off, but that's a pretty cool looking truck. So those were the two trucks I ended up with. And I thought, well, you know, I still need the original. I still would like to have the original in my collection. So I went back onto eBay and found a third one. Got a decent little deal on it. Made an offer to the seller. And this is what I ended up with in these three particular trucks. These were all the same truck. So there's what I ended up with, and that is a nice addition to my collection. So I have those three trucks in my collection. If you like the Model U Macks, I think you'll enjoy doing this type of a project. I encourage you, though, again, to start off with maybe the R model Mack made by Ertl. A little simpler project to take on, not as much metal to remove, not as much detail to be concerned about, but that you do a nice job on that. You might want to even just jump into doing one of the first gears or DCP's R model Macks and having your own Model U Mack in your collection. So I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and enjoy collecting die-cast semi-trucks.